Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time. Really, my name is Dan with the H, and with me, as always, is my co-host Harvey. Hello, Harvey.
Hey, Dan. We're heading back down to the south again, South Asia. We're doing another Indian film.
Yeah,
That's right.
What film are we doing, Harvey?
We're doing.
That's not a reference to the film. That's just my overbearing testosterone.
So, after watching this movie, we're doing Vikram Vedha, and we're gonna talk about both movies. The original 2007 Tamil version.
2007? 2017?
Yes, 17 was the original one.
Go,
yeah. And the recent the Hindi remake, which is 2022. But yeah, this my discovery of this movie was pretty interesting because I actually watched another movie called Chup, which is also a pretty good movie. Yeah, I was just scrolling through Instagram.
It's a movie about killing film critics, right?
Yeah, killing film critics. So basically, people killing us, you know. Yeah. So it could be us one day. Yeah. But yeah, I just stumbled upon that from someone that I follow on Instagram, and they talked about that movie.
Chop, you mean?
And yeah. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I called up the Sun Man and his bro, and we just went to the theater nearby my place, which happened, I think it was like the last screening of it for like that theater. So I'm like, oh shit, I better just go watch it. So it was really just like on a whim, I went to go watch that movie. And then I saw a bunch of trailers for other Indian films, and then like Vikram Vedha came up, and like me and my friends were just like, oh fuck man, like my dick's starting to get a bit like, very testosteronic, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
Like,
you sent me the trailer to this, and you were like, this looks pretty manly. And I watched the trailer, and I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty manly.
It's a very manly movie. So we're like, and kind of looks like the kind of film that you and I would both enjoy.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
And yeah. It was
because like I hadn't seen anything about this film at all, and we got a lot of comments from our Triple R video with recommendations for other Indian movies to watch, and I don't think Vikram Vedha was mentioned in any of those recommendations. Yep. Thank you, by the way, to everyone that left a comment on that video. We really appreciate the recommendations, and we will get around to watching them at some point. But yeah, Vikram Vedha, the 2017 version, I think has a pretty cult following, right? The Tamil version. Yeah,
I'm not too sure about the following of it. I assume it was quite successful.
Yeah, successful enough to be remade in Hindi, right?
Yeah, 5 years later.
With a considerably bigger budget too.
Yeah, you told me that it's a pretty common practice to remake popular like regional films into Hindi remakes, like not too long after the original release. And you also mentioned that they're usually not as well received as the regional versions.
I watched Premam maybe a couple of months ago. It was in one of our monthly movie roundups. And that also got a re-release. I think it was a Hindi version. And yeah, got pretty wailed on.
Oh, really?
Generally, I think there's just too much love for the originals that a remake is not as well received. But I think they probably still do well commercially, I think, just because of the wider reach of the Hindi language. Just more people are seeing them. But yeah, I think from the fan base is where they get the most backlash.
I see.
Yeah. Which is similar to like American remakes of stuff too.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I mean, I always wail on remakes, you know me. So this remake for Vikram Vedha is generally pretty well received. And we watched the remake first before watching the original.
Well, both versions are pretty much the same plot. It's loosely based off an Indian folktale called Vikram Betal or Betal Pachizi. It involves a no-nonsense cop named Vikram, who is trying to dismantle the organized crime in his city by hunting down Vedha, who is a big-time enforcer. However, when Vedha resurfaces and presents a series of moral quandaries to Vikram, the lines between good and bad start to become blurred for the cop. That's pretty much it. It's kind of this cat and mouse situation. Goodies chasing down baddies, except that maybe the baddies aren't so bad and the goodies aren't so good.
Yeah, this is probably the first like neo-noir action thriller that I've seen. Chup is kind of more like a neo-noir detective serial killer drama. We should talk about that movie when you get a chance to see it, because it's pretty good. But yeah, this is the first kind of like action film. No, AAA is an action film. But that's like more epic fantasy. But this is like the first like more grounded.
Like cops and robbers type film. Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen many Indian films in general. But yeah, definitely this is the first one of this kind that we've watched.
Yeah, you were saying it's very much reminiscent of a lot of those Hong Kong cops and robbers films.
Some elements of it are.
Just like the kind of insider aspect of it, as well as, I mean,
we'll talk about these films without spoiling them, and
I was just like,
we'll do a non-spoiler section followed by a spoiler section, and we'll give you a fair warning before we start spoiling either of the films. You're right. Like I did compare them to like those Hong Kong cop films. There's something along the lines of an Infernal Affairs. Just in the way of like, there's a lot of conversations between the goodies and the baddies rather than like straight up action. And there's a lot of subterfuge involved. Vikram's group, his like police unit, I guess. There's a lot of camaraderie there. It's kind of similar to like the Outlaws and the Rundown.
It's very, very similar story. Yeah, Vikram is. It's weird because he's supposed to be a cop that is like, morally upstanding. But you and I were a little bit confused because he's like kills a couple of... This is at the beginning of
the introduction of him is like, just runs in and shoots like a bunch of guys.
Yeah, and also like planting the bullets. It looks like... So it's kind of like him kind of justifying their poor moral judgments in that scene. So I thought, it's going to be like kind of like Madong Sok in the Outlaws, where like, he's not really a corrupt cop, but he kind of works with the criminals to keep the peace. So I thought, it's like that. But as a Vedha comes into the story and he's telling him about like good and evil, I'm like, didn't like Vikram just like kill a bunch of dudes? He's like clearly broken the law. Like
maybe there's more acceptance of that kind of behavior in that part of the country. I don't know, but like the way it's presented, Vikram just seems like a corrupt cop. It like doesn't seem like a good guy at all to me and you anyway.
Because I thought like Vedha was the good guy because like you kind of see more of his backstory when he comes into the fray. Like, this is a good dude.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's a criminal.
I think we're meant to see I think we're meant to see Vikram as a guy that's kind of like doing what he needs to do in order to clean up his streets, I mean, it's not even that he's like planting evidence and stuff. It's that he's the best at planting evidence. He's like when he kind of schools that rookie cop. When he tries to give him the bullets and he's like, no, use a handkerchief, you idiot. He's like, just teaching him how to be corrupt, basically.
So I was like, okay, I guess he's a little bit corrupt, but that is not. I guess that's what there's a short montage of how he meets his lawyer wife, which is done in a very kind of like very sentimental and kind of like rom-com-y cheesy manner, I guess, which was a bit different, a little out of place for like most action thrillers that I've seen, but it's coupled together with, particularly in the remake, a lot of slow-mo manly walking, which probably added, as you said, added maybe 20 minutes to the movie.
At least.
At least 20 minutes. It's a very enjoyable 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it did drag it just a bit.
I do want to talk about that a bit more, maybe when we come to like comparing the two films. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing that immediately struck me in terms of like, coolness as well as action scenes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of speed ramping, like that kind of Zack Snyder speed ramping action. Fairly big body count, and it's a pretty violent movie as well.
Pretty violent, yeah. There's some like moments of very like surprisingly violent stuff.
Yeah. Like when he drags that dude's neck along the broken glass of the car.
Yeah, that's probably the most the part where I was like, "Ooh," and then he's like gurgling and looking up. And
he's like, And there's like a montage involving an AK-47, which was pretty fun.
Pretty fun to watch.
It was pretty cool. I usually like my action scenes with a bit more fluidity, in a sense of something along like the lines of The Raid or like John Wick. But like it looked pretty good in these movies as well, and it's very cinematic.
It is
particularly
in the remake, as you said.
Yeah, like it's the action scenes and the soundtracks which really like takes you. And like you really have to watch this in the cinema, because it's very like
it was such a loud film.
It was
so
a very loud movie.
Like the main score is like so like oomphy. It's like no.
Yeah, I feel like the guys in the studio were like about to explode. I reckon when they were recording it, because like each time the theme song comes on, the vocal part gets louder and louder. I just felt like the choir or whoever is like they're like giving it their all, and they probably exploded in the studio. It's just like worth it, I guess.
And like I think the action itself is actually fairly sparse. Like just thinking back on it, like when I was watching it felt like quite actiony, but looking back at it, you can kind of like count the number of action set pieces on one hand, but I think the main like draw of this movie is kind of like the conversational aspects, I guess.
And I guess it's like the cultural folklore aspect of it as well, I guess.
The folktale that it's based on is about like some kind of ghost or spirit thing.
Is it like a vampire? Like I have briefly had a look as well.
Something along those lines. Like a king, he's asked to take this creature from a tree, and he hangs it around his neck, and then the creature tells him like a series of stories. After which he asks the king a question, and the king has to answer the question correctly. So they're like stories with moral ambiguity involved, I guess. Which I guess is what this movie is. It's Vedha telling Vikram a series of stories with a moral, and then I guess he asked Vikram to choose what he would do and what is the quote unquote right thing to do in that situation.
Yeah, the right and wrong.
Yeah.
You're definitely not lost on themes when you watch this movie. It's very clear what they're trying to say. Like,
I feel like watching the trailer, they say like the main theme of the movie at least 5 times within the trailer. Like, what is good? What is bad?
I would like if it was left a bit more ambiguous. I think that's one of the criticisms I have about this movie is that, again, it's not a very subtle movie. As you said, it's very loud. So like any like point that there's something important, it's really emphasized, but like using all the elements like maybe a little bit too much. Maybe like a crash zoom, or like a like the soundtrack or the lyrics of the songs telling you what it is. But this is something like that I've noticed in just a couple of Indian films that I've seen, which was like at this point just these two films, Chup and Chupala. So it is like, I guess it's a style of it, which maybe I might need to get used to.
I'm sure there are probably some subtler offerings.
Probably, definitely.
Probably within the indie circuit, maybe. But for this kind of film, I don't think,
Yeah, this is like the big, like, crowd pleaser movie.
But
that being said as well, it's really refreshing to watch a movie that doesn't have to rely on, like, having, like, lazily CGI backgrounds where, like, you don't need to. Like, this movie, from what I can tell, has been shot entirely on location. And because of that, this movie looks great. Like, the city looks really good. And it just feels alive, There's like a very strong personality to it. I feel like whoever was working on this movie, gave a shit. Like, there's like a certain passion to it, and they were given time to do it the way they wanted to as well, rather than like, I don't like this scene. Get the actor back. get a plate, and we'll just green screen it. Like,
it makes a world of difference shooting on location, especially in scenes where it's just two people talking to each other, or like two people walking to a place with each other.
Yeah, it looks great. Makes it much easier to watch, even if there's a lot of conversation, because these scenes are shot, I think, on location. It just makes the flow of it better. Because I was telling you the other night that, like, if I want to shoot something, I love shooting on location. Because I just like that natural shit. And sometimes the stuff that doesn't go exactly your way actually, like, makes it work out better. So I think they probably took the flaws of whatever happened on that day and have made it, like, look good, And even the action scenes, they're very stylized, but I feel like they were actually performed on the day, There's maybe a little bit of wire work, but, like, I don't mind that. It looks cool. And yeah, it's a very good looking movie, I think.
Yeah, I think, in these days in big budget Hollywood films, it's a bit too easy to kind of like fix things after the fact. I think there's a bit too much temptation to use things like green screen or the volume to kind of...
Bit too much temptation to just suddenly, let's do an entire fucking reshoot 2 months before it needs to be released.
There's maybe a bit too much money involved, eh? But yeah, like this film, or these two films, I think, like, they take something... Like, there's a scene where Vikram is walking with that rookie cop, and they're just going to go get a motorcycle part. And, like, it's, like, such a simple scene, but because they're in the midst of this town and they're walking through this town that has a lot of character in and of itself, I think, like, it really elevates that scene. And, there's a lot in this film where it's just two people talking to each other. It's like a bit where Vikram and Vedha are in the woods together, just having a chat. And I mean, it looks cool because they're just in this real life woods, and it also brings like kind of like an almost dated quality to it. Like something that you would see in a Hollywood film from like the 90s or something. Just really simply shot. But it looks good because it's natural.
You were talking to me the other day about that, how maybe this film and even maybe some Korean films, and in a sense that they're a bit behind, that they'd be making movies like this today, in their countries, but Hollywood would have made like 10, 15 years ago. But like, I miss these kind of movies, like these simple, like...
Hollywood would never make a film like this right now,
that's what you're saying, and it's like, why? Like, where are all these like manly action films? Like nobody really wants to see them anymore.
Sure.
I mean, well, people do obviously because of Maverick, but like there seems to be this like reluctance to like put like a big budget version of this. Like the only one I can think of that Hollywood has done recently would probably be The Gray Man.
Yeah, I was thinking The Gray Man, but even The Gray Man is like, it's almost like overly complicated.
Yeah.
I don't think for this kind of story, for this kind of cat and mouse, like actor versus actor movie, you don't need to have fucking Ryan Gosling falling out of a CGI plane through a CGI sky. You know what I mean? Like, it can just be a fist fight in an alley sometimes, which I guess you do still get in like the Netflix action movies. But I don't know. This is like Vikram Vedha. This is like a good mix of like care and simplicity. This is the kind of movie that I wish we could see more of. Maybe it's just the aesthetic that I really enjoy. Like that kind of 90s cop vibe. But yeah, I think there's an audience for it.
Well, there's definitely
old fuckers
audience.
like you and I.
Like you and I. There's obviously there's an audience for it in India, which is good, and it's a good thing that these movies are big because they do make it. They make it to the theaters here in Australia, and they get released pretty quickly as well. But you usually have to catch them pretty quickly before they leave the cinema.
I don't know how well this remake is doing commercially. I feel like maybe the box office is not as good as they would have hoped. I mean, it might pick up because hopefully word of mouth is good. But like you said, like pretty limited screenings in Australia already. So I don't know how much opportunity there is for people to like watch this late.
I think there's a lot of because there was a lot of trailers, and I think there's another film that I think everyone is going to see that I'm probably going to go watch in the theater in a couple of days. PS1.
PS1.
By Ponniyin Selvan. Yeah, I think a lot of people are watching this movie because it seems like it's based on a pretty epic novel. Yeah, maybe like we'll talk about that when we get a chance to watch it. But I think that might be what's on like the zeitgeist. Like everyone wants to go see because it's like it looks like a big epic. Looks good.
I just think that like RRR had the benefit of being on a streaming platform, coming out on a streaming platform. I think that really helped. It allowed time for word of mouth to get around and for people to, have a look. Whereas Vikram Vedha, because it is a theatrical release, it might suffer a bit, just because by the time people hear about it, it might have already been gone and taken off screens. But that said, they can always put on a streaming service at a later date, and I reckon this film would be really good on Netflix as well, or like streaming at home. We watched it in theaters, and that was really good. I think. Definitely.
Yeah, we were the only one in the cinema.
We actually were though.
We were the only ones in the cinema in the only screening of the day at like 8:30.
Yeah. But because it is such a loud and bombastic film, like I think the cinema experience is really fun. But that said, I think it's a pretty good streaming film as well. Like we watched the original at my place, and
we got the original. Yeah.
Well, shall we do like a little comparison between the two films?
Well, I guess like probably the biggest difference between the remake and the original that I noticed would be the coloring and the leads. I actually prefer the color grading in the original because it gives it that kind of more gritty vibe to it. And I think the settings probably seem a bit more authentic. It seemed like really like on location, so it gave it like this really like strong regional edge. But the other big difference, which I probably prefer in the remake, which might piss some people off, I'm not sure, but it's the distinction between the actors and like in the remake, you know who Vikram is and you know who Vedha is, like, without a doubt. Whereas, I think in the original, we were saying, like, the Vikram Vedha kind of just looked like guys that I had probably played tennis with a long time ago.
Yes.
You know,
Definitely
just, like, very
just
normal.
seem like a couple of uni bros, you know. I see what you mean. Like, I think the leads in the original, Vikram is played by Madhavan, and Veda is played by Vijay Sataputi. I think they do a good job, but they are portraying
they do a
different
good job,
characters.
yeah.
They are portraying different characters to the remake. I think, like, it might even be because of budgeting limitations of the original, but like the two leads in the original are very muted compared to the two leads in the remake. Like, they're not like super powered, I guess.
Yeah, they're not like tank to the point that like I feel like they're gonna burst out of their bodies.
They're not constantly walking in slow motion either. They're definitely more grounded and more realistic portrayals of these two characters. Like, the Vikram in the original, it just seems like a cop, like a regular cop, and the Veda in the original is like, he's more wily, I guess. He's definitely more like crafty than the crafty type of criminal than like the criminal that's just kind of throwing guys around and just mowing down
mowing down guys. Well, I think the actor who plays Vedha in the remake is pretty prolific. I haven't seen him obviously because I've watched too many films, but like, yeah, he's been in the biz for a while.
I did a bit of research on him.
Beloved guy,
Hrithik Roshan. He's, because like I was immediately drawn to him because he has such great screen presence. Like,
definitely.
He's quite unique looking as well. Like, just his eyes, I guess, they really draw you in. And yeah, you're right. He is quite prolific. His dad is a quite famous director, and he's been acting since he was a kid. And he's won a bunch of awards. I think like he's prolific to the point where it's almost intimidating to work with him. I read an interview for Saif Ali Khan, is the actor that played Vikram in the remake. He, before working with Hrithik Roshan, had read reviews saying that actors should never work with Hrithik Roshan because it will destroy them as actors because he's just so good that, you know, you're always going to be on tenterhooks trying to compare yourself to him. And yeah, I mean, Saif Ali Khan has a very good, very high opinion of Hrithik. He says like working with him is probably the biggest achievement of his career. But yeah, he's an actor that is known to being dedicated to his craft. Obviously, like I haven't seen any movies that he's in, but when I was reading these reviews and these comparisons, he just seems like he's like the Daniel Day-Lewis of Indian cinema, you know. Which, even just by watching this one movie that Hrithik Roshan is in, I was like, yeah, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah, this guy, guy knows how to act.
He knows how to play, man. He knows how to play.
Fuck man. Obviously, and this is like pretty rare for me, but like my favorite sequence in this movie, which is readily available on YouTube, is the dance sequence, man.
In the remake, yeah?
In the remake, yeah. Like, it's out of place, but it's also like extremely entertaining. What, Alcoholiaaaa is the song?
Alcoholiaaaa, yes.
Yeah, man.
So good.
Yeah, like it's weird because like, you know me and maybe people who've been with the show for a while, I don't really like musical numbers. They kind of halt the movie.
Not just in Indian films, right?
Just
in general.
Generally, right? Yeah. I think that's probably my initial hesitation to watching more Indian films is because of that. But now that I've watched a few now and I realize, these like sequences are actually really good, and a lot of like Hollywood directors who are inspired by these scenes, like I didn't understand at first, but now I'm like, I can see why like these sequences are so beloved. It's because it's just the energy that just comes from that scene, and the obviously the facial expressions of Vedha. It was just like, man, it's very captivating, you know. And there's a lot of choreography with the dancers as well as the camera, you know. It's like, yeah, when you're watching like a K-pop video, you know, the way that there's these really strong, distinct, visuals and camera movements. But like, it's a bunch of dudes dancing. But I'm very captivated by this, you know. It's just a bunch of dudes getting drunk.
I mean, the song helps a lot as well. Like, it's such a catchy song.
Yeah, I've honestly had that song in my head this whole day, and I like just been listening and watching the MV for it.
And for us, I think it's like watching those kinds of sequences is it's like a surface level appreciation as well, because there is a bit of a language barrier. So we don't really get like the nuances of like the lyrics and stuff. I think especially in like sequences where it's not like a dance number, but it's more like a scene is playing out and there'll be a soundtrack in the background. And like we always say, you know, it's weird how like the songs are kind of spelling out the plot. But yeah, a lot of that is nuance, I think, which is something that we don't get just by reading the subtitles. Like the scene where in RRR where the main character is getting whipped and the song is playing out. I think that actually has a lot of emotion to people that can understand the language. But for us, because we don't understand the language, it can be a bit jarring. But yeah, like a scene like the Alcoholiaaaa dance is just pure entertainment for us. It's just really, and it's a kind of like a nice break as well. I think it has to be very strategically placed, those kinds of sequences, because it does kind of halt the movie. But I think because this movie is so full on, like, and there's very little rest time. Like we did get an intermission, but in our showing, the intermission just continued. Yeah, it just continued. Something like an Alcoholiaaaa dance number, it kind of breaks up and gives you a bit of a break from all the action and the machismo. Yeah, actually, when I went to see Chup, they had an intermission, and it was honoured. Like we had a 10-minute break, which was good because I had to go pee. But another common thing amongst like all the Indian films that I've seen, they're quite long, like average 2.5 hours. And I wonder, like you're talking about like the strategicness of putting, you know, a dance number there, or like whereas these longer films draw more crowds in India. Like I don't know, like is it quite a normal thing to do over there? Like maybe you guys can let us know in the comments, because obviously like in the Western style of storytelling, it's like cut the fat out and like try to be lean, which sometimes doesn't work as well, because then it's like some films can feel quite generic because there isn't enough time to like even just hang out with the characters. Right. So like, I wonder like if that's another like sort of cultural thing to have these like really long films. Because you mentioned that film that you watched a couple months ago. It's quite long. Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours. Yeah, as well. Yeah, so I wonder if this is just kind of an accepted thing. Because I like long movies, so that doesn't really bother me. I feel like aside from the length, though, like structurally they're quite different as well. Like the Premam, I think, is pretty different in that rather than having 3 acts, it almost has like 4 acts. You know, which can also contribute to a longer runtime.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point, actually. I think Vikram Vedha almost has like 4 acts as well.
It feels like it tells a bunch of stories.
There's a lot. There's a lot of different. Yeah, because there's a bit where, like, to be honest, I was almost like, like this would probably be a good point to finish the movie. And then I think Vedha's like, well, I'm going to tell you another story.
I was like, okay.
I was like, okay. So yeah, like it does tend to drag a little bit, but I wonder, like, you know, that's just the difference in structure of storytelling that comes from there.
Yeah, and I guess like going back to the dance number, aside from giving the audience a bit of reprieve, like it also helps with marketing, I imagine. Having these songs that you can watch them out of context and still really enjoy them. And then that would
that's true.
lead you to watching the movie. And just putting them on YouTube, it's such an easy way to kind of draw publicity. Like, if your movie is average, but your song is great, people are still going to watch your movie,
Yeah, that's probably good marketing, I guess.
Especially with the new social media aspect of it as well. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I would have liked the song as much if I didn't watch the movie. I don't know, because I guess I like the context of where the song comes in. I don't know. But regardless as it is, the song is awesome. It's probably
it's not as good in the original, to be honest. I don't remember the original song.
It's not as hard hitting.
It didn't have the same visuals as well.
It's a totally different song.
I think one thing that the original has going for it for me is I think because the budget had less of a budget, they had to be a bit more creative with their shots and their framing. So there were more times in the original where I was like, oh, man, that's a good shot. Or that framing's really good, especially the indoor scenes. So maybe there's a bit more creativity. I mean, plot-wise, it's essentially the same.
It's almost exactly the same except for the kidnapping plot line, and Vedha beats up a bunch of goons, and there was another bit kind of like a Godfather killing montage.
The director couple directed both films. Pushkar Gayatri is the name that they go by. They're a married couple. It makes sense that they're fairly similar in terms of structure and plot. I read an interview where they were saying that they weren't aiming to do a shot-by-shot remake. By casting different actors for the two leads, I think it does give quite a bit of a different feel to the story. All the slow-mo and the style, I guess, that they added in the remake adds kind of a different vibe as well. They said something along the lines of if you take a play, for example, something like A Streetcar Named Desire, you can have the same text, but you can do lots of different versions of it. And even just by having different actors, they give a different feel to the production. I think that's kind of what they were going for, rather than a shot-by-shot remake.
Yeah.
The location is different as well. The original is Chennai based, and the remake is based in Lucknow. Both of those places have different vibes as well. But I think you're right. The main difference is the actors.
The actors. I mean, I probably prefer the remake more. I think its cinematicness for this kind of story makes it a little bit more palatable. And just a lot of fun. And I really did enjoy Vedha. So whatever you were saying about that actor is most definitely true.
He's good.
He's the best part of the movie. He probably has more backstory than Vikram does. Just because it's the actor, and I assume a lot of people watching this film are going to see it because of him.
I think for this, you're right. I think for this kind of story, a little bit of theatricality goes a long way. And the remake has a lot more theatricality.
In spades. In spades.
I like the original is leaner, but I don't think in this case that's a positive. I think this kind of story required a bit more embellishment. But both of them are pretty good. If I was given the choice, I'd probably watch the remake as well.
I definitely want to watch the remake again. It's a very fun movie. Do we want to...
Shall we do spoilers?
Yeah. So, go watch this movie. It's good. It's fun. It's a bit different, It's not lazily shot like a lot of, Marvel films. But,
It's a lot of testosterone.
I don't know.
That's not for everybody. But yeah, if you like that kind of film, it's fun.
But yeah, we're two Asian blokes, man. We're all about that shit.
I watched it with my partner. Or we watched it with my partner, yeah. And
Yeah,
but
we watched it together.
she enjoyed it as well, you know, like
Oh yeah.
she was laughing a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some spoilers.
So, I mean, what was there to spoil in this movie? Well, obviously, there's the kind of the betrayal of cops who, because basically Vikram has killed a lot of people, which also makes us question his, moral judgment.
So he
of
calls
him
them
being the good.
encounters, right?
Yeah.
Are basically sting operations where he's given carte blanche to kill everybody on site, right? But like the way it plays out is almost like he's just executing guys, especially like in the reveal where basically his unit is being fed information by Veda's right-hand man because Veda's right-hand man wants to kill Veda and all his men because he just doesn't like him, I guess. And yeah, like the result is Vikram and his cop unit just rolling up on like these gangsters, which are, they are criminals, but they're just executing them, right? They're just like holding them down and shooting them in the face.
And there's like begging for their lives as well.
Yeah.
And like the guy's like, yeah, tell me a joke. And like, oh, that joke was shit. Bang.
Yeah. That was his introduction.
This is a good guy. This is a very righteous man working for the right side of the law, killing the guy.
I guess the idea is like at the start of the movie, that guy is a dirty criminal. So yeah, I guess it's fine to kill him. But the more like Veda tells Vikram like his side of the story, the more you start to empathize with
the criminals.
But you still shouldn't be just like, if you're gonna kill him, I guess. Don't get him to tell you a joke, but that's just mean.
No, he had to get the right angle because he had to plan like, where am I going to shoot this guy?
He's like,
how I'm going to make it look like.
It's like cleaning his gun while he's telling him a joke.
Yeah. But yeah, like basically, Vikram is kind of an unwilling hitman for Babu, who's kind of behind this whole thing. Because there's a whole plot with Veda of him basically becoming a crime lord, but he has to work under the shoes of this other really big crime lord. But he's betrayed by one of his goons, who is sick of Veda like ordering him around. I think it's like after the Alcoholiaaaa scene where it's like, oh yeah, I want 50% of your shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, nah, fuck you. So Babu.
Well, he's not like fuck you. He's like okay, but later, I'm gonna fuck you.
So he sets up like all these he sets up those encounters where like bit by bit Veda's crew is like murdered. So I think the whole point of Veda to tell Vikram is like, I'm teaching you this moral lesson. That's the kind of folklore aspect. But from the motivational aspect, it's like, you got to get this like guy. He's like the real bad, which they eventually do.
What did you think of the like the reveals? Do you think they were fairly telegraphed, or were you surprised by anything that happened in the film? Because like it is a pretty straightforward like cops and robbers kind of thing, but there were some twists and turns. I'm just interested to see like whether you were able to pick like the twists.
Well, I didn't really pick Abbas being a bad guy. Abbas is like Vikram's like best friend who's killed pretty early on. So he's vilified for like a few moments, but then he's immediately rectified because he tries to save Chandra.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really see it coming, but I also wasn't really surprised because of the story that it's trying to tell.
Yeah.
The tale of like, black and white, good and evil kind of thing. So no, but what about you? Did you pick the betrayals and the twists?
I think there were a few things that surprised me. Like, the reveal that Vikram had accidentally, or not accidentally, but like incidentally killed Veda's brother. I was
the first dude that gets shot, basically.
I was like, oh yeah, that's Veda's brother. That's why he's come out of hiding. But like, I had also assumed that Veda had killed Abbas out of revenge. So like the reveal that it wasn't Veda that killed him actually was, that was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I actually knew that Veda didn't kill Abbas out of revenge, because I felt like there was much more to Veda's character aside from vengeance, you know.
There was also a much longer runtime than...
it's like, this big reveal is only halfway through the movie. So this is obviously...
That reveal is really funny as well. Like, the reveal that Vikram had killed Veda's brother is like, he's fixing his motorbike, and he has a series of like flashbacks where like every time he has a flashback, he like looks up and he's like, oh,
he's like, oh,
and then he goes back to fixing his bike, and he's like, it's another flashback, like, oh, and he still doesn't get it, so he goes back to fixing his bike.
Yeah, there's a lot of revelations in this movie, which almost bear on the line of parody, because it's like the way they've done it. Like there's like 3 or 4 revelations, and there's the same like facial expressions.
Yeah.
And then sudden panic to go rectify whatever that revelation.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good. It's fun. I
mean, it's melodrama, right? It's like I'm there for it. I like, one thing I really like about the remake is like everything is turned up to 11. It's like so gratuitous, and I'm there for it. I like it.
Yeah, that's why you got to watch it in the movies, man, because it's you can really feel it. You feel that dialed up to 11. You know, like everything, like you said, the soundtrack. You know, just it's very bombastic.
There is a female character in this film as well.
There's two female characters actually.
Yep. Okay.
There's
Vikram's wife.
Vikram's wife, the lawyer. I forgot the character's name, but there's also Chandra, who's like grows up with Veda's brother as well, and she's they both lead that kind of early gangster life, but want to get out of it. I think that's their main arc.
Yeah.
And the brother's arc is to like start a business, which leads to the Alcoholiaaaa scene, because they get like a lot of money and they party hard.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. I think it really works well to humanize all of the criminal characters, because like they don't want that life, right? They're trying to get out of that life.
Well, the criminals like look better. I mean, by the end of the movie, aren't the criminals better than the cops? Because all the cops are corrupt except for Vikram. So yeah,
he's kind of corrupt as well.
Like the ending climax shootout scene is fantastic. But like he says like, don't kill anyone, and then like he starts shooting basically his colleagues. And then, like, they're clearly, like, dead.
They're not moving, are they?
They're not moving. Like, he's, like, rummaging one of his colleagues for another ammo clip. And then, like, this other guy gets shot. You kind of see his eyes roll back, like that googly eye.
Like it looks like they're getting shot in the arms and legs. But, they're down. They're down and out.
I think, I don't know. I think you just kind of have to believe that he's not killing them. But it just looks like he's just killing them.
Yeah, that scene, like, I likened it to the ending scene of Hot Fuzz, which is like... but Hot Fuzz is meant to be parody, whereas I'm not sure Vikram Vedha is. Like, there's bits where they're, like, running and shooting, and Vikram is just running in front of Vedha as they're, like, shooting. Like, I realize you're trying to get, like, the cool frame, but, like... Yeah. Friendly fire, man. Think about it.
Yeah, friendly fire. Friendly fire is a thing. You're also saying, because there's a bit before the reveal of everyone being corrupt, he's like, such and such, you got all this money so you can do this and that. But then, like, you also notice that there's probably a lot more guys in this warehouse than we were led on, because they shoot a lot of people in that last scene. So it's just like, these other random cops just kind of come out of nowhere.
No, I thought his like unit had grown significantly, even like before the shootout. Like, I was like, as he's going through them, I'm like, who's this guy? Oh, okay. He had a sick daughter, I guess.
But now I think he's dead.
Yeah, probably dead.
Got killed by Vikram's killed more people than... Oh no, Vedha has killed his fair share of people in this movie.
Do you think Vikram killed Vedha post-movie?
That's the end. Yeah.
Definitely killed him.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about, he probably did.
Definitely. That's the only way he could get out of this without repercussions. I reckon he killed Vedha and then framed Vedha for like killing all his colleagues.
But he's got a new moral conscience now, Dan. He's gone through his arc. He's seen what he's done is wrong.
But he also doesn't want to go to prison, probably. So,
I guess as if, it depends whether you're a glass half full, glass half empty person, that kind of shit. But he probably did kill him.
Gotten his wife to defend him.
Got it. Yeah. You were saying you could kind of count the amount of action scenes on your hand in this film.
Yeah.
There's obviously the one where Vedha is rescuing the kidnapped boy, which isn't in the original.
Yeah.
Lot of like crouching tiger, hidden dragon flying around, people getting like bear palmed and then flying into the air.
Yeah. It's a big difference from the original, isn't it? Like,
the action scenes are a bit more spectacular.
Yeah, they kind of morph the character into someone that's like superhuman almost, because there's the way these guys are just flying around after getting hit.
The guy, Vedha jumps off the top of a building and like slashes a dude
in half apparently. Yeah.
I wish it was just a little bit more violent, which would have been cool. Just like show that dude get slashed in half. I guess I'm a psycho, so that's
like there's a bit of stabbing and stuff like that, and that guy that gets dragged along the glass.
It's pretty violent, but I think it's like mostly casted in shadow.
Yeah,
like where you don't,
or there's cutaways.
There's cutaway.
Like they're getting stabbed, but it just looks like he's poking him with a knife.
Yeah. So show the knife going in and like the guts coming out.
And gurgling. More gurgling as well.
Yeah, more gurgling. Like have the knife go across the throats,
He does slit Babu's throat.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Actually, just going on Chup for a bit, that was a surprisingly gory film, but also still held back a little bit, I think. But there's like elements of gore in there.
It does look like it's got 7 vibes, but I assume less gory than 7.
Yeah. So, I wonder if that's kind of like a restriction, which is weird, like just moving the topic a bit. Like if you talk about like Japanese films, those movies are pretty notoriously violent, but there's like a certain type of violence that's barred, like gore. Like they usually remove gore in Japanese
like
movies.
Realistic gore, or
I think so. So that's why they've got the blood spray shit, because it doesn't look realistic.
Sure, okay.
But then I've seen some fucking extremely gory films. Like, how did this get past the censorships? Like Forest of Love, for example. It's a messed up movie, man. So I wonder like what the climate was like maybe 5 years ago in terms of, censorship.
Well, maybe
in films,
maybe it depends on studios as well. What studios will think will be commercially viable or not. I mean, this film is R-rated, right?
It's MA here, which is basically an R rating in America.
Right, yeah.
Because it's not a PG film. It's not like, it can get pretty brutal at times. But I wonder what the limit is, That's pretty interesting. Like, I mean, if anyone can put a comment like the most violent Indian movie, Like, I'd be very curious to watch it.
Show us some fucked up shit from India.
Yeah, well, show some depraved shit, man. Because
we're all about the depravity.
Yeah, we're pretty depraved individuals, aren't we, Dan?
Yeah.
If
you really want to get the stamp of approval from two Asian blokes, show us some depraved stuff.
But yeah, I think it's changing a bit because, like, you know, RRR is a pretty violent movie.
Sure. I mean, even looking at these two films, like, the original is not as violent as the remake, so...
Yeah, as the remake, yeah.
It's definitely evolving and changing, which, of course, makes sense. I mean, we noticed that there were no cigarette warnings and alcohol warnings.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a big difference. Yeah, in the original... Like,
I mean, it might be different releases as well.
I'd never seen that before, but anytime there was smoking or alcohol, there's like a warning in the bottom left. That's the first time I'd seen it. I was like, oh, that's a little bit distracting, but you know, it is what it is.
I'd seen it in Primum, so I'm not sure if it's like maybe it's something they add to the DVD release, maybe. Maybe they don't put it in a theatrical release. Or maybe it's like a new thing that, you know, new movies don't have it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least, like, to the credit, at least they let the actors do that, like, smoke and drink. Drinking is easier to get by in film, but, like, I used to want to put, like, a lot of smoking in some of the stuff I was doing because I was watching a lot of Wong Kar-wai movies.
Right.
And I just like that aesthetic, but then, like, all the bullshit you have to go through just to get it. Okay. Yeah, it's like, because if you're shooting on locations and stuff, a lot of places like no smoking indoors.
In Australia, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So it's just like, I gave up on that. I gave up on that and guns. So like, especially in Victoria, Australia, if you want to have, it's such a fucking hassle to just have like a prop gun that it's like not worth putting in anymore. I tried being stubborn like early on, like when I was in uni, but then, and I did have like a gun, and yeah, just getting that one gun is, yeah, I'm like, nah, fuck it. I'll have to find some other motifs that I can put in my works.
No AK-47 for you.
No AK-47s. Yeah, fuck, yeah, good luck, man. If I was, and it's only in Victoria as well, if I was in like New South Wales, it's actually easier. In Queensland, it's almost too easy, I think. But in Victoria, it's like, yeah, fuck that. So, yeah, maybe I got to get out of Melbourne and film shit elsewhere.
Yeah.
Then I can make all my violent, depraved shit, you know. But yeah, you got much more to say about Vikram Vedha?
No, I think that's all I've got to say about this film. I guess like going back to like the story structure of it. Yeah, I think because it's not like a straight up action film, there is like a bit of talking. It's almost like
it's a fable.
Yeah, and you know the scene like in The Dark Knight where Batman is talking to the Joker.
Yeah,
it's like that, but like over and over again, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole like flashback things, like they're telling a story within a story. Sometimes, like I think it drew me in a lot more than it would have if it was just a straight up action film, like something like The Outlaws or The Roundup. Like the stories are similar, but they're told quite differently. I think that's probably something that makes this movie stand out a bit more.
Yeah, there's more of a lesson in this movie, whereas The Outlaws and The Roundup is just straight up action. As like, you know, we didn't in that episode we didn't talk nearly as much as this episode, and that's over 2 films as well.
Right.
You know, just two good action films, and just sit and consume.
It does kind of, it's a motif that you shouldn't think too much about, because a lot of like Vikram picks up on like the details of Veda's story almost too much. Like the whole thing where he eats the that curry dish, and
how
much detail is Vedha giving in these stories? Like I almost like imagining him explain like the Alcoholiaaaa sequence.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's very like
And then I did a dance number, and there was a giant champagne bottle. Yeah.
But maybe Vedha's is a very detailed storyteller.
Yeah, he's good at telling stories.
The Indians, J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, like some of the revelations that you talk about, like, are based on such minute details, like the fact that Chandra is left-handed. Like Vedha had to have included that in his story.
Yeah. It's just something you got to go along with. It's true. It's a bit convenient, Yeah. But I don't think it detracts from just the enjoyment.
Because it's not it's not a movie that takes itself too seriously. Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, I really like I really like both of these iterations. And yeah, I really want to watch more stuff from Hrithik Roshan. I think his just stage presence is quite good.
I had a look at some of his like filmography, and there's a movie called War, which seems like it had some pretty good reception. So
maybe we'll leave it to you guys. Give us some recommendations for Hrithik Roshan movies. Yeah, I don't have anything more to say about these films, Tavi. How about you?
No, I think I'm going to go and listen to Alcoholiaaaa.
And drink some alcohol?
And drink some alcohol.
Yeah.
Man, if we ever came up at a karaoke, that would be a lot of fun.
We would butcher it
we'd butcher it so bad. We could barely sing Korean songs, let alone like trying to pick up a dialect that we've rarely heard. So it's like fucking but you know what? It's all about the energy and the fun, right?
It is.
But no, definitely check this out. And I'm looking forward to going down the rabbit hole of Indian cinema more.
Let's watch some more, Bring it on.
Yep. And thanks for like making them easily accessible to me, because I can just go to the cinema and watch them in like a couple of cinemas around me that are not very far, and I can just go and watch them and get discounted tickets and points and stuff. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully as the popularity grows, the amount of showings as well will also increase.
It's true. Like I've noticed, you have to watch them like within like a week or 2 weeks. But I think that's the same for any like foreign release film. I've noticed, like even the movie that we watched when you were down here, Hunt, is already gone.
Oh yeah,
that was there for a week. We'll probably talk about that in the monthly movie roundup. But it's that it like went really quickly, So, and I assume maybe even Chup was only there for a week, and I just happened to stumble across it at the right time. And
so, I guess the lesson is go watch these in cinemas so that we get more showings.
Go support your cinema.
Help out the box office a bit.
Help the box office out. You can get more interesting films. You can like get more variety. Obviously people know what I mean when I say that. So not going to go into that rant. But no, I think that's it from us for this episode.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, take care of yourselves.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
And drink a lot of alcohol.
Alcoholiaaaa.
All right. See you later, guys.